Some strange and terrifying things are taking place in New York City. Things that the NYPD can't really explain with good old-fashioned science. So it's up to a hardened detective, played by Bana, and a priest with a shady past, played by Edgar Ramirez, to hopefully uncover the mystery and deliver us from evil. In Deliver Us from Evil, this is today's review. It's probably on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix recently. They just recently added it. You know how like they'll send you an email saying, "Hi, Derek, we added a movie we think you might like," and yeah, I jumped right on it because I am a fan of Scott Derrickson's work in Sinister, which is a movie I kind of avoided for a while, and actually I just watched it for the first time last year. Kind of kicking myself for it because I was very impressed with the movie. I thought it was very scary, very well done, excellent horror movie, and you know I had to see what was next from this writer-director, Scott Derrickson. So watch this movie and kind of going into it ignoring the red flags. You know, like one of my biggest pet peeves with horror movies in general are the titles. The horror movies, especially like, you know, the mainstream ones, they're the most generic fucking titles in the world. You know, Paranormal Activity, Insidious, Sinister, The Spookening, Scary Shit, you know, whatever. Same can be said of Deliver Us from Evil, very generic title. I mean, like, go on IMDb right now. You're going to find, like, you search Deliver Us from Evil, 20 movies will come up. I guarantee it. All horror movies, of course. So, I mean, no points for originality in the title there. But, you know, it's not... There was the same kind of deal with Sinister, very generic title, but it turned out to be a great horror movie. So I gave this one a chance. And going into it as little as I did know it was kind of about a cop experiencing, you know, supernatural things, demonic kind of things, having his faith tested and that kind of stuff. I was hopeful because I really do love that kind of material. You know, when something real world is challenged by supernatural, by demonic, by matters of religion, things like that. Like with like something like obvious case, Exorcist. In fact, this is a very, I'd say, Blatty-esque kind of concept to it. Not so much Exorcist, but more, I'd say, more Legion actually, or like Exorcist 3, if you prefer. It's about a detective who's kind of tested and sees all these demonically possessed people, but things like that. So I was kind of interested in that kind of concept, and of course kind of going into it again with a grain of salt. This is based on a true story from actual accounts from the NYPD. It's like, okay, great. Meanwhile, you could probably step back from this movie. It does deal with people who are possessed, things like that. But you can step back from it and be like, well, maybe this person is just like a crack addict or meth addict or something like that. One of the key characters who kind of gets the plot rolling is a Marine with PTSD, so, you know, maybe it's not just PTSD, it's possession, possibly. With these movies, the evil always kind of comes from overseas, and specifically the Middle East for whatever reason. So, I mean, that it shares that kind of concept with The Exorcist as well. I'll say, I mean, it doesn't have the same weight as something like Blatty. Not 100% for lack of trying. I think it just had, you know, a lot of restrictions. It had to keep to a certain time frame, had to get in a certain amount of scares and stuff like that. It does try, I think, to work in as much kind of characterization as it can. Maybe the biggest problem with the movie is Bana's casting, who I think he's an excellent actor. I thought he was, you know, Oscar worthy in Munich. I think that's a great movie, particularly an underrated performance. I think generally he's an underrated actor. Here we know, of course, he's an Australian actor, but he's playing a New York cop, so he's doing the New York accent. He's like, yeah, "I'm from New York, motherfucker. You know, I'm gonna wear a Yankees hat or a Mets hat or whatever." You know, it's like, okay. It's not that good of an accent, but, you know, whatever. Get the fuck out of here. I'm from New York. Like, okay. We can kind of put a shrimp on the barbie. You know, we can kind of hear that. But, I mean, it's okay. But maybe the biggest problem is, try as they might, it does kind of feel like sort of a, you know, stereotype kind of character of the hardened cop who can't really balance his life and work and things like that. So he's ignoring his just wonderful wife and daughter. You know, the wife is the extremely beautiful Olivia Munn. The daughter is like from a Gerber's commercial or something. She's like the pinch your cheeks cute kind of fucking kid, just obnoxious in these kinds of movies. So I mean, there's that. Bringing into like the actual scare elements, I think they do an okay job with that. Kind of try and work in like gritty cop kind of stuff into it. There's a really good scene when they're, you know, him and his partner. Actually, Joel McHale plays his partner, which I guess he like really fucking beefed up for the role. I barely I thought it was just like a guy who kind of looked like Joel McHale, and while watching it, you can pull up the phone, you know, it's like, wow, it's Joel McHale. Anyway, where they're raiding some kind of place, and like there's flashing lights, and there's, you know, the demonic, creepy, crazy people. I thought that was a great scene. Other scenes, maybe not so much. I mean, there's kind of a ridiculous scene where they go into this zoo, and he's like following this possessed guy into a zoo, and he actually traps him in the lion pit, and the lion comes up, and he's like super badass New York cop. He's like holding up his fucking gun. He's like aiming it at the lion. Like, okay, I mean, I'm as badass of a cop as you may be, I don't think a handgun is going to stop a lion if it wants to maul you. Meanwhile, he's just like, you stay right there, you fucking lion. I'll fucking shoot. I swear to fucking God. And you're like, this is so stupid. So, I mean, there's that. And I really like the priest character, Edgar Ramirez. I mean, I do think they did work in a good history to that character, I think, and, you know, desperately let's work in exposition as much as we can in certain scenes. Like, there's a scene in a car where they're, you know, talking about things like that. So, I mean, it's okay. And, you know, the demonic stuff is okay. There's a really weird aspect to the movie where they're working in songs from the Doors, because I guess, you know, the doors of another world are opening up and demons are coming through. I don't know, very thin connection that they're trying to make. But I don't know, I think the movie struggles with, I don't know, just giving us this, you know, grounded real world being challenged by supernatural, but not doing a good job of either. Doing an okay job at the supernatural stuff, at the grounded stuff, not really doing that great. So I mean, really what it amounts to, it feels like, you know, A, B, or C demonic possession movie mixed with A, B, or C badass cop movie. I mean, that's pretty much it. So I would rate Deliver Us From Evil 2.5 stars out of 4. I appreciate the effort, but at the end of the day, this is just 2 cliched genres for the price of 1. So kind of a disappointment, but I wouldn't say it's like the worst movie ever. Just after Sinister, I think I was disappointed. But I'm looking forward to seeing more from Scott Derrickson. So hopefully gives us something really good for his next film. So that's my review, Deliver Us From Evil, probably on Netflix. Check it out. So that's it. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Visit Derek237.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.